All right. I oftentimes go through this sort of, I don't know, situation, this thing that I go through, um, that before a certain time period, I will suddenly get this like very extremely enthusiastic, pent up, um, just like enthusiastic desire to want to work on something, a project, especially right before significant holidays. And I have this internal like fight with myself like, no, don't start it now. Do not start it now because I have a tendency to get hypomanic or hypomania, which isn't a bad thing. But if it's right before the holiday and if I start working on a project, I get so into it that I can't get out of it, which will destroy, ruin, and depreciate any possible good anything in those holidays coming up. Because I'll be so mentally in the groove, on track with that now what's supposed to be fun, happy times is annoying because it's interfering with me doing that. Having said that, my actual experience of New Year's Eve was so bad. Just like my actual experience of Christmas was terrible this year. Unlike last year, which was rather good, in fact, better than good. Although my husband is always a fuddy-duddy and he's boring as hell, but at least it was something last year. This year, my daughter fucking brushed her teeth at like 10 o'clock. What the hell? I had been not eating most of the day so that we could have a platter of cheese and crackers for New Year. But my husband just went to bed even though he didn't have to work because I guess he's old and a fuddy-duddy and boring as hell. And my daughter's a prude and just as boring. What the heck? But I digress. So then there's the obvious thing that happens when with holidays is your consumption of either junk food, sugars, which also can be carbs, and then of course alcohol. I'm not really a big drinker. I do like and appreciate some alcohol qualia here and there and can appreciate that. The thing is with drinking, I don't care for like drunkenness or drunkardness, which is literally stupid and insane and embarrassing. And personally, if I'm drinking at a party or with other people, I have this, self-censorship thing where I'm like, how do you know when you've had too much to drink? Well, if I have trouble walking or keeping my balance, I sit down and stop drinking alcohol for a while until that kind of goes down, and then I can walk again, and then maybe I can drink some more alcohol after that. Or I could also drink caffeinated beverages or water. That's another one. I don't know. My brain seems to at least function. This idea of like trashing yourself as some kind of a good thing is so stupid and sick and psychotic and just, I don't get it. Having said that, even though I did drink, I was not actually drunk. I was technically not legally or within the legal limits to drive a car, assuming I could drive, even though I have a license, because my leg injury is really bad. And also, the weather was horrible. The weather was just like blizzards and just nonstop blizzards, snow, flurries, everything wintry. Which is also funny because the weather also vacillated up and down. So like 6 degrees Fahrenheit to like almost 70 degrees Fahrenheit up and down throughout the entire week. So, since I was drinking, as modestly and moderately as I was, I did drink. I was not drunk though. And I could still get around on my crutches. There's the obvious issue with drinking, meaning the aftermath or after you have been drinking, especially going to sleep, which seems to mess with my sleeping patterns, probably because your liver and your kidney is like doing stuff, and it messes with my mind. And I find that I'll frequently wake up, have weird dreams, which I did have because I did a vlog about my Hatsume. And then it's just, I'm so mentally tired and exhausted the following day because alcohol kills brain cells. That's a thing. And I wasn't drinking vodka, I was just drinking rum. And I think I had one or two shots of funjiu, which is like a Chinese baijiu kind of spirits, which actually isn't really that harmful to your liver at all because it has like special super antioxidants in it. That's another conversation, which I'm not going to get into. And so even though it is the 2nd of January, and New Year's Day was yesterday. New Year's Day for me, especially I've noticed in the United States. Although for elderly people when I was growing up, they often have to go to brunch, especially like in New Jersey, Philly, parts of Pennsylvania, and even here in Boston, or greater Boston, right? Overall, in general, I find people today in my age demographic or younger, it's a day of either hangovers and recovery. And nothing very special happens other than maybe people might go to the mall, which I don't even think is much of a thing anymore. Or maybe you might go to the movies. Again, I'm not even sure if that's even that much of a thing. Because at the end of lockdown, all of a sudden these things were incredibly popular. But then price gouging under the guise of inflation swept over under the previous administration. And now, because people can't afford these things and it's insanely expensive, people just stay at home again. So we went from one direction to the other direction and then back again without lockdown. So there's that. Something I've noticed quite a bit recently is my inbox. One of my email accounts keeps getting job offer stuff sent to me, and it's definitely in my line of work. The things I was trying to avoid working on were, I have, let me pull that up. Actually, let me pull that up. So I'll just show it because it's not like I'm rolling in cash or anything over here. Let me pull this down here. Alright. Okay, so I have my distributor, I have my films projects or whatever up, and this one here, it's just been stuck. It's just been stalled. And even though I have versions of these videos up on my other channel, one of my brand channels, let me go to my channel, my main channel here. What the heck is that? That is a funny looking thingy. So one of my brand channels for quote unquote slow content is this one, and you can actually see these various cuts of this project dating back a few years. And I also did some experiments with Pokemon Go. just to see like just to test it to see what did better. Anyway, I have many different edits and cuts of these. I need to look through my notes to figure out which were the good ones and which ones weren't. But at this point, people abuse the copyright claim frequently, and I would never do a project like this as a series ever again. I hate doing a series. I hate doing a series. I would just stick to films, and this is what you'd call slow content, so they're very long. And I only did 6. And now there's all this controversy and kerfuffle over Film Hub, even though some of the updates have been kind of good. Like, I've never had this much before, and my other films actually did go into syndication on platforms, or streaming on platforms. So then because my leg is lame right now, people that were not top players have surpassed and eclipsed my status as a top Pokemon Go player, which is highly humbling. But it's winter, and I'm fine with it. I played so hardcore to hit level 50 in the previous system, as well as to hit level 40 in the first system. And as you can see, if it shows that, or do I have to type it differently? As you can see right here, level 50, boom, in the old system. I'm still kind of like mentally, like, I don't know, tired or slow, and I haven't decided what I want to do yet exactly. I have, I guess, 2 main things, or should I say 3 main things I kind of want to work on. Mostly, I want to finish that project, that video project, and submit it for review. I do have a new video card now, so that's potentially possible in theory. However, some of the old files are derived from many, many generations of older files in different programs, or different variations of the program. So they're full of issues. And that's a problem. I probably need to start over from scratch on a number of the videos, if not all of them. I'm not sure. That's going to be a huge screening endeavor, and I'm a Virgo, so I know I can handle it, but I'm going to hate it. And it will suck up at least an entire week of effort, time, and I'll have to organize everything. I'll have to go through all my notes. This is the burden of being a producer, and this is what it's like. This is what it's like to be a producer, and I definitely am a producer. The other thing I want to work on, which I have been working on since the end of 2023, well, kind of, since the end of 2023, but going into 2024, which I was sort of more passive with, but once I passed into 2025, I got more and more in depth with it, in varying degrees, with meditation, and also dream work stuff, like especially the reality shifting, but I think I'm going to shift or lean more towards gateway process meditation and maybe OBE, like William Beelman style stuff, as well as experiments in lucid dreaming. Although I'm not so sure. Like, my lucid dreaming results are mixed because I'm not trying to lucid dream, but it's a side effect that happens as a result of doing these things. my current explanation or my working hypothesis is more leaning into Sheldrake's morphic field theory because that makes sense to me. I also have not gotten to so I have something called time blindness, and I'm not a morning person, and I still have this dialogue that I haven't gotten to, which I'm very enthusiastic about getting into because this concept and topic of the monad, which I apparently have, I already did the chat GPT one, and I already did a video here on it. In fact, I think I mentioned it previously this fall or something. But I am so mentally drained and depleted, probably because I was drinking a few days ago for New Year, and I'm sort of recovering from that. I also have been experiencing variations on insomnia, which means I probably should go back to doing my meditations, which I was doing consistently daily, all pretty much over half a year. And I couldn't really do that, one, because of the crutches, and two, in conjunction with the crutches issue, because of my leg injury, there was a little Christmas tree on the coffee table, and getting over there, plus my stuff was all over there, my daughter's stuff was on the sofa, and trying to get over there to meditate or just lay on the sofa was just something I couldn't do. And my leg has other issues as a result of this injury, such as edema. So there's that. And I would love to get into this topic a lot more, but as I'm in a short window of time, not long after I got up, my brain is still in like powering up, waking up mode, because my brain is like, when I wake up, it's like an hourglass, and it's like it shifts from one side to the other. So I'm not like fully awake, I'm not fully energetic, I'm not fully in the mode to handle articulating myself, explaining things, and oftentimes, because it's the weekend, but by the time my family gets back from work, because they both work together now, down the street, they come home and very rudely, selfishly, defiantly, and inconsiderate, and highly inconsiderate of me, just fucking talk and make a whole lot of fucking noise as I'm in the middle of recording. But heaven forfend my daughter records something that has nothing to do with a job or a business meeting or a Zoom call or whatever, but it's just her own frivolous nonsense. But I have to shut the fuck up, even though she has a fucking door and noise cancellation stuff. I am having audio issues. Like, I actually have a good mic, but I have some kind of noise feedback issue internally in my computer, probably because this computer is too fucking old and it's just a Frankenstein monster of parts that have been in and out, reused since, I don't know, the 20-teens, maybe 2011, who the fuck knows, I don't even remember anymore. And there's some internal things that are just too old. Then there's the whole issue of Windows and drivers updates, Windows updates, various software updates, and other things, because we don't fucking make things to last or work, even though we should. And now the grump is coming out of me right now. The grump, because even though it's like 12:34, my brain is still like in morning mode. Even though I've been up for a few hours now, I'm not fully awake. Plus the fact that I was drinking on New Year's Eve. I did not drink at all yesterday. And I don't want to come off like whiny and bitchy and grumpy and cranky. But maybe I kind of am, because my leg is fucked up. And a lot of my social situations are weird right now. Just bizarre. I don't want to get into any of it. because it's like personal and private, and I feel like people just don't like that shit out there anymore. Like, people are not very open anymore. They're very closed and very private. So, yeah, I don't think I can mentally or energetically handle getting into all of this with the monad stuff, which just a few days ago when I did this, does it show the date? Probably not, right? That's unfortunate. There's no date on these things. Well, whatever. Anyway, that was so exciting and stimulating, and I do not have the energy to handle that right now. Just like I could not handle the Pokemon Go grind right now, even though everybody else is kicking my ass with that, and playfully, because I love them and they're my friends. They're also a lot younger than me. Kind of rubbing it in. That's okay. I can take it. But I have all kinds of notes, and there's stuff because I watch Heather's stuff, and I have not been able to keep, like, I have notes and stuff I did with her stuff, and I'm just kind of left in the dust because I feel like she's on a, like, what do you call it? Like, she's riffing, she's in the zone, she keeps going, and I don't want to, like, interject or intercede or interrupt or impose my own thoughts onto her stuff, because I'm more interested in, like, what she's doing, how she's doing, why she's doing it, etc. Anyways, I have actually been going through my old vlogs, like really old vlogs, and I have thought about making a playlist, even though they're unlisted, and putting those in there. There are some things that I find to be sort of sensitive topics that that even though I want to talk about, I don't know that it would be a good idea to do so. And then, of course, there's these job offers that keep coming up, because this is the frustrating thing with jobs, especially stuff that's perfect for me or seemingly perfect for me. It can take 1 to 2 or 3 days just to work on a whole resume and go to all the effort of doing the cover letter, etc., for them to not even look at what I sent them. Because now we're at a point where when you submit a resume or a job application or whatever online, you can see when they look at it and who, sometimes. And I'm just so tired of it. Also, applying for jobs is a major cause for anxiety for me so bad. And I'm out of sleeping pills right now, until my husband gets some. That I get severe insomnia, like severely. It's a problem. I also have getting severe insomnia, even for things that don't pay, but they're important enough with the kind of work I do, such as, because I've many times booked with my friend Roland time slots at various TV stations in the area, because we can use the TV stations, if you understand how that works. And I would have horrible insomnia, and it would really suck if it was like 2 or 3 days in a row. God, did that suck. And for whatever reason, I just don't understand why things that are so obvious to me, that are common sense, like following directions. I have a whole fucking story I can tell about that. Several, especially like I booked a television studio, and this the head producer's in charge of that TV station here in my own fucking town, were just never on the ball, and they'd always pass the buck and make it sound like it was my fault that we scheduled the wrong day and whatever every fucking time, even though towards the end this was a huge problem. We had photos that we shot when he wrote the schedules on the board, on the whiteboard, so we could prove that no, this is the time slot we booked. So you can't fucking gaslight us. Now, I remember that shit big time in like 2018. 2018 was a fucking crazy ass year. So I was like the showrunner and the producer, as well as on camera, like an anchor, for various shows, including one I did, like a Star Trek theme one or whatever media theme one we did. The amount of work, prep work done, including like the research stuff, including like, because we were just talking about Star Trek, which I love. I love Star Trek, including vintage, original TOS, original series Star Trek with William Shatner. And we were speculating on the new episodes coming up for the Picard show, which was terrible. Anyway, that went well. My graphics, by the way, went well. But for the thing that was supposed to be like my big thing that I wanted to do so bad, which also seems to be fucking sabotaged by the fucking reality matrix, fucked up reality we're in. I wanted to do a teaching show to teach artwork, teach basic skills, because they don't teach it. If you pay to go to fucking art schools and so on, thinking you're going to actually learn how to do art and the skills and the techniques, you don't. I remember this was a major point of contention at UMass Boston because they weren't even teaching like art fundamentals, and the fact that I had to make the case for that and everyone agreed with me, and they still weren't doing it on their own. I went to so much effort to try and like do things for that school because that's what they wanted, only to have like huge fucking like this turn on me as though somehow I'm arrogant, I'm in the wrong, even though I could go through a list of everything wrong. I mean, and I even mentioned like Feynman, which Richard Feynman, who taught in Boston, especially I believe it was MIT, and like the fucking Feynman technique is from that city, but the way that they would teach was they do like theoretical like outlines on the board and expect you to just learn by looking at it. No hands-on experience, no demonstration, or if you got a demonstration, it was just real quick and then hopefully it would just stick in your brain. Yeah, that's not how that works. I helped the teachers, who, by the way, were all my age group, all my peer group, all my generation, all Gen X, so basically, the students, once I started to understand things, because I needed to update I was furthering my education, I had to update my knowledge and further my education, to like HD, and this was like starting in like 2016, because when I graduated in 2001 in Philadelphia, it was all standard definition, analog, going into digital stuff, but it was still standard definition. There was no HD yet. It didn't exist. That didn't come around to legally until I think it was like 2009. So significantly behind. And then the software, such as like Adobe software, had gone through major changes since 2001. So I didn't understand how to use any of it because my reference framework to understanding the software was like from like 2001, 2002, stuff like that. And I had to just figure it out, trying to find tutorials, because a lot of shit that I noticed, people who would pretend to know what they were talking, they would fucking lie to my face over and over. There was this one dude, because I worked for Hockey TV, which I never want to fucking do ever again, and this one dude would brag very confidently that he understood so many things. He was an expert in After Effects, animation, VFX, and Adobe Premiere and all that stuff, but that he taught After Effects. This motherfucker was so insistent that he understood these things. And that because he was a teacher who was paid to do this in schools and whatever for over 10 years or 20 years or whatever it was. So since he talked like that, I thought, well, this is good. He's constantly always wanting attention from me and he wants to flex his skills and stuff. So I would just ask him questions. And I was like, oh, so what about this? And what about that? And what about that? And at first he would seem to know stuff. So then when I would go home and I was trying to figure stuff out, I was like, okay, so I'm trying to figure out this thing and that thing. What do I do? And he never knew because he never had an answer because he didn't know. And then also, this is kind of the problem with like updating versions of software is that methods of doing things and features and so on can alter and change just with a single fucking update, which is absolutely frustrating. Absolutely frustrating. And I went through this especially many times with not only Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Premiere, but especially with Adobe After Effects. And the thing that was interesting to me with Adobe After Effects was they had done far more integration with 3D stuff, which blew my mind and was so interesting. And because I was friends with David Biedny and he used to talk about this stuff, there was times when I asked him about it and he was like, oh, I haven't been keeping up, I'm sorry. So he didn't know how to explain like what to do, how to do a certain thing based on like a 2012 tutorial because it didn't apply to like 2016. So I'm talking to this dude that was my associate at, Hockey TV, one of several. And after over a year of this, and I'm asking him stuff, because I mostly wanted to do like 3D stuff, 3D particles, and there were still features in the software from like way back in the day. And I had seen this dude, I think Jeff Warmouth, who used to be the head animation guy at UMass Lowell, who's no longer there because my daughter just graduated from there. He hasn't been there since he worked in a project with me. And this dude was like, yeah, I don't know how to do this or that. This kind of thing happened so often in 2016, 2017 that I would just have to try and figure out these things and hope I could get it like good enough. But then after I went through all this fuckery at the end of 2017, at the end of that semester so there was going into summer, there was some like turning on me at that point by specific figures, which is so fucking petty and so fucking immature. And me being the person doing the right thing and also being better than the people who are paid to do this job. I'm not paid, I'm not a teacher, and I'm actually doing their job better than they were. Right? And going into the following semester, which is the fall, which ends in December, having gone through a lot of really good things also in that, it's this weird mixed bag of things, and this still weird petty shit going on, and sometimes even like catty, and probably because the instructors were all like my age group and whatever. I went through all this effort to minor in various different fields of study. I was setting up like my own organization because I was going to teach people like fundamentals of drawing and this and that. And then this weird like conspiring behind the scenes against me for certain things, whereas other people were for me and supporting me, including like the chairman, who seemed to appreciate a lot of things that I did, even though for whatever reason a lot of people hated his guts, especially students. I felt like it was a misunderstanding. I actually liked the chairman. I thought he was a good person. I didn't think he was as bad as his reputation. I found him to be logical. I got along with him really well. And it was sad that his classes were in the morning, like so early, because my brain just didn't work. I was so freaking stressed. It was insane. And the fact that we do this to young adults under the guise of education, the way we treat people just because they're young is absolutely deplorable. And I remember it being horrible when I went to school or went to college, and I've been to several colleges. And when I graduated, the fuckery I went through in 2001, this was before 9/11. This was in like spring. The bullshit I went through then was so fucked up and horrible. But I was young, and because you're technically an adult, they'll shame you and make it sound like, well, you're an adult and you have to be mature and you should know better and you have to blah, 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 be responsible. Which was this cover for anything fucked up they'd do to you. And they would find any number of ways to exploit you, trick you, deceive you, etc. So I was in my mid to late 30s when I went to UMass Boston. They tried this bullshit on me, and this is when we went from Obama into Trump, which the fuckery that went on with that, especially in the bursars, which is like their billing department and their bureaucratic back-end offices of how like things are paid for, and all these certain technicality things. Everything from getting a pass, for, a student pass for commuting, and various other things, financial, government, taxes, all this stuff, right? They tried this fucking bullshit on me, and I was in my mid to late 30s or whatever. And try to talk to me like I'm some fucking 19-year-old. Meanwhile, I'm fucking litigious. Don't fucking try that shit with me. I fucking confronted. I even was in telecheck. I traced back like the... What is it? It's not TSA. I can't think of it. My brain is so dumb. This is all numbers and letters shit. When you trace the routing numbers, payments, funds, there's a whole system in the back end through the Treasury, through all these other things. I traced back through the fucking telecheck which department, which office, and their fucking name, and then I showed up to confront this bitch. Why the fuck did you reverse my fucking payment? And so then, at the end of that, because of the fucking stupid-ass fucking politics that went down before the summer, at the end of the spring in 2017, I redid a lot of my classes for the fall, for 2017. And at that point, I had, because this is kind of the thing, I could start very behind at a very low whatever. And I was also dealing with extreme depression, right? But all the persons whom, especially one in particular, whom helped me, who helped and wanted me to be reliant on them and to trust them and whatever. And then I did that and it worked out really well. I don't know, there was like this weird like attachment issue, and then this person kept blowing me off, which I fucking hate so much. And all the promises, all the things they said they would do, just suddenly just up and leave. I fucking hate that shit. That's like the one fucking pet peeve you don't fucking do. And then to me, I'm thinking, is this some passive aggressive shit, which is another thing I really fucking hate. Or like this weird cowardice thing. And I think it's because like, I don't know, there's something about me that does something to men and it's weird. And that's kind of what I'm thinking happened. And I'm so totally not naming names. I could also tell you a lot of just very weird stories. Also, my husband was also, my husband, my actual husband was also going to that school. So there's that. And, even though I had set up all these certain things, the way that everything started to play out and went down, At the end of 2017, I was like, I am just not going to re-enroll anymore, even though I've not only rose to the occasion and surpassed and eclipsed these things, and I can go beyond them. I had this feeling like I don't need to prove myself to other people, live to the standards of others, chase academic, success or whatever. And I pretty much not only learned what I needed to know, but also that I could continue to self learn or be like autodidactic. And that I could figure these things out because nobody was fucking doing that stuff. So by the time I was doing that stuff at that television studio, including stuff with my friend, which I was very happy to work on because I was doing a lot of indie film stuff, indie media, indie film stuff. I had to completely learn on my own various kinds of VFX stuff that nobody taught, that you couldn't pay to learn. And then when it came to art, because it was something I cared about very deeply, very much, and everybody actually wanted to learn fundamentals in art, I wanted to teach my skills that I was taught, also as a fuck you to my teacher in high school. I didn't go to a normal high school. I went to like a so-called vocational school, but let's be clear, I was not just some, cop-out person. I was in like all the high achiever, gifted and talented groups and stuff. I had been working on projects for the Vice President Al Gore, national stuff, including for the environment. And I was going to college classes on the weekends while I was still in high school. And I could go on and on. It's a long fucking resume, but I don't want to fucking brag. That was my normal. Everybody did shit. And it was like, everybody had a portfolio of all the achievements they did, all the awards that they did, all the grants that they did. I don't even know how many grants I got for environmental stuff for my school when I was environmental. I don't remember. I never thought to write it down, so I don't remember. But I definitely did. I used to do grant writing a lot, and it was just a normal everyday thing. Ironically, as an adult, it's hard to even like break through to get even noticed that you're trying to get a grant, and they've made it so fucking ridiculous and hard. And I could go on and on about like national endowment, and at this point a lot of this shit is just to promote like propaganda, but I digress on that shit. Anyway, so the stuff that I did at especially the local TV station, and there's two here, which I gave all my permissions, even though I had a kerfuffle with my friend Roland. I was like, you can use all my footage and you can use all my stuff whenever you want, and I don't care. Like, even though we had like a kerfuffle, we're still friends. We still talk. We still chat. We had a kerfuffle though at the end of 2018 because I was just at my limit. I was just at my fucking limit. And I do like him a lot. He's a pretty good friend. But that studio has used everything I shot there, everything I produced there, and aired it on TV, especially during the pandemic. And there is so much of that stuff that people have watched on local cable TV that I get recognized a lot of times when I go places, very frequently. It is so weird. And they put that stupid art tutorial show, which the head producer guy botched over and over and over. I was so trying to hold my composure, hold it in, trying so hard not to lose my fucking temper, because especially in the morning and when I haven't had any sleep, I have like no filter, and I am just like so trying not to go ballistic, explode, and go buck on people. And I got a fucking librarian who was several decades older than myself, acting like a fucking idiot. And I'm so embarrassed about that stupid thing that I have never uploaded it online, and they still fucking play that shit. I I didn't understand why they didn't I didn't understand why they couldn't understand why the camera angles were wrong, the orientation was wrong, that this isn't going to help people learn because it's a tutorial, and that this isn't going to help people. This isn't teaching. I'm trying to teach, and then to have people completely just as I'm talking and demonstrating what to do, how to do it, constantly talking, how do I do it? What do I do? What do I do? And I'm like, I'm showing you right now. What the fuck? This is a fucking librarian. The main librarian who volunteered to come and do this. What am I gonna do? Make fun of them and yell at them like they're a child because they're acting like one? No. And I mean, like, and I had to do my makeup. I did my own makeup. I had to do my own wardrobe. I had to manage the lights and the lighting because they don't fucking do it right. And they still fucked it up. And then because all the camera shots and the camera angles sucked, when I had to go edit the final, and oh, by the way, the first time we shot it, that fucking guy in charge had the green screen on the entire time, and the paint was green. It was also the last bit of that paint I had left, and the amount of pressure and burden on me to try and manage all this shit in real time, and nobody else understands, and I'm the knowledge person. I had put so much preparation, outlines, how I was going to have it go, how I wanted to structure it and everything, because they don't understand any of it. And I don't have an assistant who's kind of like in my lane. They're non-artists. And then even with my friend who is also a filmmaker, videographer, producer, director, etc. By the way, I'm also directing. And I'm doing a good job, but if I'm giving you direction and I'm explaining to you in simple terms and I'm repeating it repetitively and you're just fucking annoying and fucking ignoring me, I don't think the problem is me as a director. I think it's all of you, every single one of you, who just have a lack of common sense and skills and maturity and all these other things that you should have had since you were at least 5 or 6 years old. And these are like adults. So I'm sitting there in the studio editing this shit with, I'm not going to say his name, my friend. And I'm like, do you see why this doesn't work? Do you see how this is a problem? And I have to freaking crop so many of the shots, almost every shot. And then because librarian is acting like a little bitch, little brat, and so immature, I'm like cutting that shit out. And I'm like, what the fuck? Everything I shot the first time around was unusable. Now we're going way over time. But that producer is insisting that I shoot it again. I'm so tired. I probably hadn't had any sleep in like 3 days. And I am so trying to be polite and nice and put on a good face and not blow the fuck up and not tell everyone off. In my head, I'm just thinking like, fuck, 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 fuck. Oh my God, what the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with you people? I have so many words, so many thoughts, all of it very angry, very bad, very frustrated, livid, pissed off, utterly vexed. And I'm just like, how the fuck is this even happening to me? What the fuck is this? And this is like a common thing, especially here in Massachusetts. When I go down to like Pennsylvania or New Jersey, I don't have, even in New Jersey, I don't have this kind of fucked up problems with people. Like, this common sense thing of consideration for other people and accountability and maturity and whatever is just normal. And I'm just, and then when I'm here, I'm thinking, like, am I losing my mind? Because, like, I'm about to just fucking go berserk. Fucking go super fucking berserk. Which is what, something my mother used to do over things that, honestly, I think she would let shit get to her that wasn't worth, getting that crazy over. Especially with children, right? As an adult myself and a parent, I can look at the way my mom handled a number of things and go, yep, that was wrong, that was bad, you could have handled that better. And I can speak this quite objectively myself. That and the fact that my mom was also manic depressive, that there's that. But yeah, so that was a thing. Anyways, jeez. Uh I do want to get into the vlog, or the monad thing. Um Eventually, but I just don't think I can mentally handle, like, right now my brain is still have this, like, very tired, exhausted feeling. I also haven't had much sleep recently. Um and the sleeping pills that I do have are the kind I hate, that suck. They just kind of make you drowsy. You don't really relax and fall asleep, and they're called Dyphon. I hate Dyphon. It's like one of the Unisom ones. I like the doxylamine one because it just relaxes your nervous system, and you just conk out. Plus, when I take that one, my dreams are far more vivid and far more active. So, oh yeah, I wanted to get into the that was another topic I thought about getting into, which I wrote here in my notes. Just a game of life. A lot of these things are all cogent to reality, like the structure, how reality works, and so on and so forth. And I won't be doing that today. I will talk about probably one of the things that actually kind of matters to me, and I was meditating on it a lot back in end of August, September, October, and a little bit in November. And that is, well, not necessarily the AI music, but kind of. Not exactly, though. So, I bring up Suno, or AI.Music generation, quite a lot lately, because I'm kind of, I don't know if fixated is the word, but, like, curious. I've been testing these systems. I've also tested other ones. They're full of problems. They're full of issues. I've also tasted. I've also tested various AI image generation stuff, which kind of sucks. But and people fucking hate my guts for this. Like, hate my guts. But, so, as an artist, I really have a lot of hatred myself. Very anger, hatred, fear, bad feelings towards AI for several reasons. But then, like, the reasoning is like, oh, well, real artists and jobs. But then, like, in that whole experience of real artists and jobs, there is the issue of money, which myself personally as an artist was never my reason to do art. I just loved making art. And I could get into all kinds of things. Like, so if money was no object and all of your needs were met, what would you do? You wouldn't, your thing that you would care about and you'd focus on would not be money. It would be the things that you love. And I could get very Ellen Watts with this. Ellen Watts I fucking love. Which now, because of AI, ironically, because there's a double edged sword here. There's so much bullshit out there that's pretending to be Alan Watts and it's just AI generated, and I fucking hate it. I hate it so much because I know how he actually talked, because I listened to hours upon hours of his recordings, talks, stuff that he said at various places throughout, especially the United States, as well as stuff he shot at a public TV station in California. I think it was San Francisco. And he was the guy who pretty much brought in the knowledge and major part of the counterculture as a philosopher and a Zen master. Concepts from Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism or Taoism, and especially Zen. He was also very much a counterculture figure in the 60s and the 70s. And I love Alan Watts. He's formerly a priest, and he's also a philosopher. He was highly educated. When he talks, he sounds like David Bowie. And so I loved this guy. I loved Alan Watts. I loved everything he would talk about. I loved that it was like a snapshot in time, and he would talk about things including like what it was like to live in Japan, what it was like to live in China, and various other places, and how much of a very sharp scholar he was. He could explain Sanskrit, he could explain Chinese characters, and as well as the Japanese variations on things. And this was so fascinating to me because he could point out like how, because today when you think of Japan, you think of it as this perfect, clean thing, whereas in the 1960s it was not. So I really love philosophy. Philosophy is like my thing. I was also heavily into politics my entire life, and I must be honest right now. Like, I'm fed up with whatever passes to be considered politics today, because it's not even politics anymore. People don't even know what words mean anymore, which is a major point of frustration for me personally. But back to my own stuff. Actually, let me go to my playlist. So this is my profile, which I've mentioned previously. And I have returned to a number of works of mine, um, including stuff that I personally wrote, including the things. So this one I did, this melody, I wrote this melody when I was 6 years old. It's usually just referred to as like the Blue Fairies melody or some variation like that. And I can play it on a keyboard or a piano or an organ or whatever. And then I've done several variations on the melody, on the notes, um, including I've sung it and I've also written lyrics for it. I have the In the World of Blue Fairies, which is here, and then I have the dragon version, which is Soaring Dragons, and these are for my OCs, my original characters. And this is like the corny ass like AI rendition of, which is not really what she looks like. And then of course there's the other girl, Lively, which is also these corny ass AI versions. And then I have another character, which is Al Tao. And I have quite a lot of my original characters, and I have been writing this stuff since I was young. That's wrong. So I wrote. That was funny because I had this seriously interesting experience around the time when I graduated from the Art Institute of Philadelphia. And this guy gave me this book about like how to write a script, and I have a written outline of that script. I also had various typed out versions of the script. I've changed it several times, and so this is Jacoya. She's actually a dragon, and there's her like humanoid version, and so of course she comes up a lot in my work. And then I have Lively, who is a character I've been drawing since I was a child. Who's pretty much grown up with me, and this is her dragon, like a spirit dragon, which is based on like my own dreams and personal experiences when I was younger. It's very similar to the Bailongma character in Shioji or the Journey West with the Monkey King Suno. Except his name is Ao Qing Feng. And then there's like her like main love interest, which is Ao Xing Tao. And keyword here is Ao. I also had another short story I did with with a little mini unicorn thing. I actually have those written somewhere. Actually, where is that? Damn it. And since I'm an animator, I can't help but have a little bit of comedy here and there. I wrote some aspects of this with some comedy. Now, a lot of this is sort of very colored with my old beliefs as like a very new agey person or whatever. And I don't think I would necessarily write the story that way now if I were to do that. And then so this is kind of some of the dragon story concept stuff I was reworking on back in 2015. I was like honestly kind of suicidal in the 20 teens. It was really bad. It was so bad. I just wanted to die. I used to just long for death. I had another concept of stuff that I was trying to raise money for, and it was not going amazingly well. But I have a number. This is like a kind of short film. I wanted it to be kind of like inspirational, and this is a lot of my like old conceptual kinds of whatever for that. And what else was I looking for? There was one other thing. I'm trying to remember. My brain, my brain did a thing. I don't know. Uh oh, this was a manga I never finished. Like I get like so close to finishing it, and then there would always be just something that would just screw it up. I was doing it for this contest for Tokyo Pop, which just did not turn out. Um. Oh yeah, Eyewitness. Where is that? That's the thing. Let me find that. I have so many things. By the way, this actually I'm very satisfied with as a project that kind of evolved over time. That's another story. That's like a UMass story. do 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 do. My brain is here. We go. So, this was a project of many like short stories, and I guess I put my warrior guy in there too. Okay, well. I have a lot of these it's like short stories, and it's mostly focused around Lively and various. Here's the one that was in Congress in 1995, and here is a sort of Art Institute version. Was that 1999? Damn. I didn't know that was a 99. I guess it was. Anyway, I have a lot of, and then I also studied dance. This one I have a lot of interesting concepts for. Um, so inspired. And I have like a kind of choreography version that I wanted to adapt for actual real dancers, probably with like sort of like puppet theater, puppet acting, puppet theater, like shadow puppet or shadow puppeteers, where they're all dressed in black and then like her tail can move around, as well as like an actual like animated sequence. I'm like heavily inspired by Macross Plus, especially. And it's very much similar to like, although this I would never, I don't think, at the time when I did this, I don't think it would ever produce this one ever again, but it was like one of the things I did. Anyway, for the inspiration and stuff for this, one of them was like, it was called like Amazing Stories. There was the Jim Henson Storyteller. Um, there was certain kinds of commercials from the Sci-Fi Channel, I think in the, was it the mid to late 90s or the early 2000s? And Skittles, old Skittles commercials, because it would be like kind of weird and I don't know, and dreamy or whatever. And I was just so very inspired by a lot of these kinds of things. And yeah, just all kinds of stuff that I wanted to do. So when I was working on songs, oftentimes I would just write those lyrics myself. And despite all of the backlash and absolute abject hatred, visceral, attacking, very mean, nasty, so horrible, that like focused on me for doing this, my actual experience of just experimenting with stuff that I wrote in high school or as a child, or my concepts, which I definitely tried to work with real human beings with, and all the fuckery that went down with that. People I absolutely, definitely, personally know, in person, IRL, who would, to my face, tell me what, I would go out of my way. I'd do like a whole presentation and I'd be like, okay, so can we talk about this thing? Is that okay? Yes, I would love to talk about that. Okay, so do you know this kind of music or that kind of music? Well, maybe, kind of, sort of. It's not my thing, but I understand it. Okay, so let's talk about 4/4 beats. Okay, do you understand? Yes, I understand. Okay, so my issue is that when I'm working with other people on these things, they always try to turn it into a generic pop song, or rock and roll, or maybe some hip-hop thing, and it's specifically not the kind of any of those that I'm wanting. Is that going to be a problem for you? No, that's not going to be a problem. Okay, so you're not going to turn it into an 8-count beat, or a 6/8, or a 6/6 waltz? Yes, I definitely won't do that. I'm not stupid, I'm not dumb, blah, 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 blah. It won't be a problem, and it shouldn't even take that long. I'm definitely able to do these things. Okay, are you familiar with this genre, and this genre, and this genre? Oh, that's not a problem either. And then they don't do it. They change the subject, they change the conversation, they ghost me, and then if they do it, it's a fucking rock and roll song or a generic pop song. And then, on the one fucking project I worked with, and I was like the fucking cinematographer in this thing, cinematographer DP, I go out of my way to be like, okay, this is, I think for this thing we want some rock and roll, but I don't want generic shit, I want like a certain sound. Do you know how to do this kind of a certain distortion pedal thing with this kind of like this song? Do you understand what this is and what this, that? Oh, yes, I understand, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, because they always put it off and they always delay it, and then by the time we go to record stuff, they don't do anything like what I said at all. Not a single fucking thing. And now we're way over time, way under budget, and we just have to go with it anyway. I feel some type of way about this, but I'm so fucking evil, immoral, and unethical for having done this, which, by the way, actually proves to me Because I've been told that it was bad, it was a bad idea, it'll never work, it's not practical. I told everything. Like, total gaslight me, like, oh, these are not good ideas or whatever. Pretty much every time I come onto this platform, somebody is liking something or following me at least once a day. At least once a day, it's usually more than that. And if I'm so bad, and I don't do generic shit, I'm not doing anything generic, I'm doing my original stuff, my original ideas, which, by the way, everybody bitches about how movies are all the same, it's the same fucking movie from the 60s or the 80s, just redone again, like Planet of the Apes, or Total Recall, or Batman, or Superman, like we have never done these before, right? Um, or remake a total masterpiece of a Disney movie into a quote-unquote live action, which is all fucking CGI, and not even live action. And it sucks, right? Why don't they ever have real ideas or new ideas, original? Because there are actually people out there who still exist, like myself, especially my demographic, and our whole fucking generation was screwed due to outsourcing and greed under the George W. Bush fucking administration. And then completely lied to with hope and change, hopium copium bullshit rhetoric by Barack Obama, who did not do anything he fucking promised at all and just made everything that Bush was already doing worse, despite having campaigned against it very successfully and winning, only to be a fucking turncoat. And he's really smart, and he has a constitutional lawyer degree, which is like the top of the top. And so same thing with his wife. When I went to UMass Boston, and I used to shred like his commencement speeches and his wife's and other associates there related to that, I absolutely shredded that stuff because I understand quite a lot of things that used to be common knowledge and basic stuff that people should know today, but everybody's stuck on this like doom scroll, hopium copium, red versus blue, everything is a sport, everything for ratings, everything for sensationalism, salaciousness, and whatever. So there's that. Then I did a fun concept, a really fun concept I had been wanting to do forever, because I used to do cosplay stuff with my friend Pebbles. And so I wanted to do like theme songs and stuff, or for her. She's a singer also and a DJ. She's a celebrity in Philadelphia area, and a lot of the anime cons and various kind of conventions. And those were interesting. Those actually, honestly, the stuff I did for her turned out way better. And then I tried to do stuff for my character, and it did not turn out as interestingly as her stuff, but it is close to what I was trying to do. Very close to what I was trying to do. In fact, yeah, so that was interesting. I could probably rework these and rewrite these, but they did turn out in the genres I was wanting. And that was a few days ago of an experiment. Other stuff I had been experimenting with was EBM, dark gothic, like 2000s sort of even toxic rave kind of shit for Shakespeare, like quotes from Shakespeare, which I wrote the composition and the arrangement for this, and it was really interesting to see how that turned out. EBM, not EDM, totally different. And then there's my like Blümchen like wannabe experiments, which was the thing that I first started off with testing this platform and Udio with, which has become quite an interesting concept that just keeps growing. Now, having said that, there's also the Andes Mountain kind of experiments that I did. I took a clip from an indie band and reworked it into sort of an up-tempo Andes music kind of a thing, which I couldn't get it to do by writing prompts because it would never work. So I had to source a clip, which it didn't reject. Some music clips it absolutely will reject, such as LSDJ. It will not let me use LSDJ clips as a reference, so there's that. But when I was writing all the various like developments with Lively's character in the Dragon story, this stuff just would take on a life of its own. And I mean, even like I wrote this poem, The End Surreal to Start, which has also won awards, and I don't even remember which ones I won. It's whatever. I wrote it in like, I think like 1994. And one of the first things that I did when I wrote this, and I heard it played back to me, which is like one of these. Although this is the older system back in October. When I heard these, there's another one on the 5.0 system. It gives me 4.5 now. Here we go. What's this one sound like?
The cats are in the kitchen. Flags flying through the air. Birds all fly above.
I have such a German accent.
Me. Parrots perching on my chair. The demons are not demons. And are these angels good?
There we go. Oh, here we go! But anyway, there's these other songs. Like when I first started, it put me on. It let me like. It would actually let me do samples from the 5.0 system. I think it was 5.0. And I remember listening to this stuff and just crying because I was so emotionally moved because I had been told that my ideas were stupid, that I didn't know what I was doing, that I didn't understand anything, even though I had a formal fucking education in music growing up. And I played the violin and other things. So there's like, so see, this is the 5.0.
Flags flying through the air. Birds will fly above me. Parrots perching on my chair. The demons are not demons. And are these angels good?
So good. It's so good. Does this actually let me publish? Let me see. Is it gonna let me fucking publish this? No, it's not gonna. Because it's the 5.0, which is the premium. So I was also doing like the Blümchen concept with this.
In den Schatten der Nacht verfolgt mich der Djinn. Sie will, dass ich mich ihren Reihen anschließe und mich in ihre Truppe aufnehme. Ich lehne die Mitgliedschaft ab, deshalb verführt sie jeden Liebhaber. Sie alle haben sich gegen mich gewandt, sie ist die femme fatale. Oh, der Schmerz, sie lacht über meinen Schmerz. Dann fordert sie mich auf, mich ihr anzuschließen. Sie bietet mir Macht an, genau wie sie, der besiegte.
Oh, that impressed me. Some of the other versions of this did not really turn out. Let's see, what does this version sound like?
In den Schatten der Nacht verfolgt mich der Djinn. Alle haben sich gegen mich gewandt.
Kind of Alan
In den
Walker-ish.
Schatten der Nacht. Deshalb verführt sie jeden, bietet mir Macht an.
Okay, so what about this one?
Sie kann zu mir ihren Reihen anschließen. Meine Sterblichkeit aufgebe, um mit ihnen ungeahnte Kräfte zu erlangen. Sie war eine wunderschöne Djinnkönigin und ihre Gruppe war die der Elite-Feen. Aber der Preis war, mein Herz aufzugeben. Die sind mir liegen Werte, wenn ich mich ihnen anschloss, würden ihre Kräfte zu nehmen. Aber ich konnte mein Mitgefühl nicht aufgeben für alle Wesen auf der Erde.
So fucking good! It's so fucking good!
Bezaubernd und sie machte mir Kompliment.
Here.
Es war mein Herz aufzugeben.
Dude, give me funds. What's this one? Okay, so this one. Okay, when I put my lyrics for my songs for my dragon film project, and I heard that shit played back to me, I was in fucking tears. So that's the 5.0 version. That's premium. What was this one?
And a part of the sky. And then when I awoke, remembered I once could fly.
Okay, so that worked out. And then I think there's this. Yeah! Now, during the time when I did this, you could actually mention various artist names, and then I guess the whole lawsuit thing happened, ruling, and then that changed. A lot of things changed, including audio, which honestly, when I first started using, was very interesting, but it just was so difficult to work with. And I've also done a lot of stuff with especially developing the story and the characters using like classical Chinese poetry. I especially like some of these, like this one. honest, writing in general in classical Chinese, known as Vanyan is super fucking hard. So I do need to use various AI tools, including DeepSeek, which is the better one, much better one, but it still doesn't do exactly what I like, and it messes up a lot. And then I would also use the Google Translate. And I'm not exactly a moron and completely don't know anything. I've definitely consumed so much media from China, including in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 20 teens, and various classical stuff like novels and so on. And I'm not an expert, but I'm not a noob either. So it's really hard, and I've actually published a number of the things that I worked on with with the AIs. So everybody keeps texting me today. And what's going on? Oh, okay. Well, uh, oh, that's about Suno. Okay. Anyway, so I did actually post some of these. I have various different versions of the stuff and in different ones on my DeviantArt. A lot of people left DeviantArt because they don't like their work being used to train AI, which I completely agree with, um, emphatically. However, using Suno has not, for me personally, been a horrible experience. If anything, it's given me a lot of, I don't know, something. Like, I enjoyed it. So, is my friend gonna decry Uno? Is she gonna give me some anti-Suno talking point thing? There we go. Oh, I know this one. Yeah, terms of service. Yes, I'm aware. Yes, I'm aware. I saw this recently. I'm not gonna name who that is because I'm not a jerk like that. So there's that. Anyway, I do think the AI thumbnails on Suno are horrible overall, and they're so weird. They're so weird. Like, what is this? Like, some of these are just like, what the hell? And then even when you generate your own, you only have a certain amount you can do per day, and they're, what the heck is this? What the heck is this? None of this is what I asked for. This one at least has the figure here. This one doesn't. And does this look like a black girl? 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 Does this look like a woman even, let alone black? Does this look like a black girl? Does this look like a black girl? No, only this one and this one, and that was it. I was also sort of tone policed for making a beautiful black woman. How dare I? Because somehow that means I'm racist, even though all of this being not black to me reads as very black, and this being male is also kind of sexist. But what do I know? I don't know why she has stars on her head, and I don't know why she has cucumbers on her eyeballs, because that's kind of stupid. Yeah, that's really stupid. Whatever. And so I have all kinds of mixed feelings about these things, including hatred, anger, frustration, and even distaste, while also having tested these things, and I'm very freaking confused and perplexed and bewildered about a lot of this stuff. At many points in time, because some of this stuff gets into like late stage capitalism, I don't even know what to think and how to feel anymore about so many things. And everybody hates my guts. So I'm an evil person. You should, like, I don't know, cancel me and shun me and whatever. And this is here's the weird stuff that people. Oh, this is kind of interesting. The weird, interesting things that people are coming up with on Sora, which is the one that I don't usually have as many problems with until it just suddenly decides, oh, that's kind of interesting. Until it suddenly decides that whatever I have done, which it already made for me, breaks rules of terms of service or whatever. Same thing with ChatGPT. So I came up with these, and then this is bizarre. This isn't quite what I asked for, but it's still kind of interesting. This I only got one. I only got one, even though I was supposed to do two. Same thing here. It was like, no, these are evil. These are unethical. Uh, break terms of service, even though like you already did these. There's another one. I don't know why I can't get the naval marshal baton correct at all, because that's so wrong. I even included a reference to, okay, so the highest ranking French Navy Marshal baton. Here we go. So this is a marshal's baton in the French Navy. The highest ranking rank attainable on in maritime out on the open sea is higher than an admiral, is a French marshal, which outranks an admiral. Um, and because my character is a megalomaniac, um, she has to be a marshal. um, anyway, it's based on. I do have a blog, and I used to do cosplay a lot. See here, only this one, only this one. So this one at least happened, and this was took several tries. So none of these. But this one, that one was okay. Hey, let me have that one. And then I was like, okay, put some glittery stuff happening. And then it did this one, which is kind of interesting. Um, and then I did some cyber goth. It was so funny because this one, I didn't even give any references for any of this. I just typed it in. And it's very different. It seems to be catching on to things that I like for some reason. I don't know why, because it's almost intuitive. It's kind of weird. This one weirdly looks a lot like me, which is really freaky. It's freaking me out because I didn't give any references of my face for this. And then this one looks like my dance teacher, Zoe Jakes, who was one of the belly dance superstars and the Indigo band, the belly dance company, and the band Beats Antique. Okay, and then this is my like Blümchen wannabe stuff. So these came out so good based on my prompts. I really like them, except I hate this fashion. This is so like 1992 and so like not what I was wanting. This girl is almost there, and I hate this skirt so much, and I hate this like 1989 looking clothes. And I also don't like how this is white and this is white. Like, I hate it so much. But the Jin Queen and her little, like, group of dark Fey Jin, she's trying to recruit, like, a kind of Bloomshin character. This looks so good. This looks so good. Like, the big hair. I freaking love this big hair so much. And so I changed the prompts, and this was something that was very difficult to do for like over 2 years, was get either ChatGPT or Sora to generate 90s hair clips. Oftentimes I find their beauty standards are so like the 20 teens, like very 2016 and or even 2015. It's just driving me nuts. I'm like pissed off. But I had more of a raver vibe, although this is not a yin yang and this is not a yin yang, so I don't know why it screwed that shit up. But the choker on here looks kind of good, but there's no pendant. Oh yeah, and it's in Vienna because Vienna. Oh, Vienna! Anyway, this is another pair of photos that it generated that I'm honestly impressed by. It really, and I gave very vague descriptions, and yet it did like really interesting details. So I do like how the grass turned out. I actually like this one better, but for the orientation, it just didn't work because I wanted to really show the grass for reasons in the song. And I felt like this one just worked better in the thumbnail cover photo. Whereas this one, like, I had to focus more on her face up here, and then I wasn't really seeing the grass because it's trying to do depth of field, and it just was not working out. And it looks so much like Mariah Chappelle from The Billion Superstars. Um, that's crazy interesting because I never asked it to do that. It just was like, hey, let's try to make it look like Mariah Chappelle, but kind of like the makeup of Zoe Jakes. And it's kind of interesting because my inspiration was a very old series of photos that Zoe was in, my teacher was in, that were on like MySpace and Facebook, like but way back in the day, like what, 2007 or something. And it's so similar to this concept, but more colorful, and yet it looks like Mariah. And then this is another weird thing I generated because so my friend died, and a lot of times when he shows up in my dreams, he's like disguised as something else, and I can't make that connection that it's my friend in the dream until I wake up and analyze the dream and everything. There's so many things in the dream that are so obviously David. And I had these very weird experiences. And so when I put in the prompts for this and then I saw the final images, it like freaked me out because it nailed it exactly. Like both versions. It's so similar to like stuff I saw in my dreams, the nature trails where I walk on and I would play Pokemon Go. And even like the clothes is so exactly the kind of shit I wear, literally. And then this bag is so me. It's insane, like both of them, right? And then this is very. It so totally looks like, or like in this area, like what like a trail I'd be around here. There's several nature trails around here, and even like the hair, motherfucker. What? Yeah, it's just it is seriously. I don't. It picked up on exactly what I was thinking about, and I didn't even like tell it other than like the vague basics of the prompt. Like I didn't give any that many details, and it just fucking nailed it. Like these 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 still needed to be worked because this fashion sucks and this fashion sucks. This is so much better, but now this and this is different. I don't know why. Also, they made her blue eyed over here, where she's brown eyed here. Um, and then this, I'm just like, wow. And then even for, I guess, ChatGPT for the images, is this gonna load? It's because this is usually one of the things I struggle with the most. This came out decent, and then these came out really good, and this came out really good. So, what is going on here? Because I've barely done any images in here since what was the date on this one? Oh, it doesn't even show. I used to show the date for these things. Um, yeah, so are we at this tipping point? Like, this shit is not going away. This shit is so totally not going away. What did my friend say? Did she reply to me? Oh, she just gave me a thumbs up. Anyways, um, yeah, because, AI is honestly kind of scary. And there's a lot of things to be cautious about it. I don't necessarily think that making music or AI generated music is necessarily that bad. And having said that, I would reiterate the fact that there's actually a community of people on here. I'm interacting with several of these persons. I've gone out of my way to leave comments on people's stuff if I genuinely like the result. There's actually people, like real people with real formal music education, like college, who actually do real stuff. Now, my daughter will be like, oh, they're really paid or sponsored. Yeah, but they're on the freaking platform interacting with the community here. That's an AI thing. Um, and like analog, this guy, I mean, this is a analog electric guitar. This guy's on a dynamic mic. This chick has a piano. Here's another one that comes up a lot is this Audrix. And this chick's got a condenser mic. So, oh, this guy's got a pad mixer. Okay. I haven't seen anyone use a Chord Chaos pad yet, but that would be cool. And even like here we go. Here we go. These are, and then there are actual videos on YouTube showing people showing people how they do this stuff. How to use the different features. Obviously, it's the paid stuff, probably because maybe they are sponsored. But if it is so horrible and evil, why are real musicians also using the software with their real actual music that I watched them record with their real voice and their real input devices, whether it was MIDI or guitar or whatever? But I'm so fucking evil for doing this. I'm so fucking evil. Meanwhile, my actual experience with real human beings was totally weird and fucked up. So David's dead. We never did any music stuff together. While he was alive. Kyle got arrested for CSAM on 2 counts and pled guilty. So I can't go do those plans, and that was a thing that was delayed many times over. I so wanted to do stuff with Kyle because he's really talented. But he's apparently a pedo, so that's a problem. Real problem, a huge problem. That and there's the other stuff, like Harvey Weinstein kind of stuff. I don't want to even get into it or touch it. So, can't do that. Then there was a bunch of stuff on Facebook that didn't work out at all ever. And then there was another friend of mine who loved me very much, promised me a lot of stuff, did not do anything that was agreed upon, and then was just like, oh, here's this song you could use for whatever your purposes are, which was not the thing I wrote at all, and was just some other thing. And this is kind of a thing with a lot of musicians, which really comes off as very, honestly, very arrogant, stubborn, where they'll just slap something together, record it, and then give it to you like, oh, you should just be grateful I gave you this. Even though we talked about it for hours, days, weeks, so much written stuff, had a conversation and bonded over musical whatever, and it would always be the singer, delay it for like a few weeks or a month, then get back to me and like, here's this thing, you can do this or that, and then it would be like all these stipulations attached to it, which was not part of the conversation before. So that's why I don't use that shit. And then of course there was a film project I worked on that I went out of my way. I'll show you the thing that I referenced for that freaking conversation. There's this song. There is a song from, it's like British alternative pop. At the beginning of this track, there is this amazing, I can just probably show it like just real quick. That that okay, it's the whole, you can look it up. This is one of my favorite songs ever in high school. And I freaking love this song. I just love this song so much. There was a certain kind of vibe to this, like this, the opening introduction part of the song, and when I showed this especially and other things that was kind of similar to it, I was like, this is kind of what I want. This is why I want this kind of like dreamy alternative, but also sort of psychedelic and whatever. And it's funny because like I actually like these people like a lot. Like I liked a lot of these people. They were actually very friendly and nice. And they would be like, well, I went out of my way and I changed my schedule and I did all these other things. And then, of course, I was filming stuff, so I can't talk while I'm filming. And all this stuff, and everything looks good visually, but musically was not at all anything I asked for, because I asked for a specific thing. And then, because he's friends with the producer, director, writer of this film, and they also have a very friendly, good bond. And as I said, I love all these people, right? His sense of discernment and whatever just went out the door because you just love this person. This is kind of my issue with working with human beings, especially if they don't have the same music tastes that I do. They're gonna like manipulate me because they want the attention and they want the whatever. And I really don't like that. Not that I haven't gotten that kind of a thing out of the AIs, because I definitely have, where it seems to have it has its own tastes and its own opinions and preferences, including Suno and the image generation stuff. And ChatGPT is a total freaking brat. Sora is also part of ChatGPT, but it's a whole other animal. And I will say overall, especially stuff that I can do myself, I definitely can do the things that I do myself are way better. It's just the stuff that I needed help with, that help did help, even though I still had to edit things and change things. So there's that, especially when it came to stuff like classical Chinese, like Vanyavan, and this gets super complex very fast. Especially if you don't know what a Banyavan is, what a Chengyu is, and all of that. Because you don't read Chinese or speak Chinese, which I'm just okay at, I guess. Like, I don't consider myself fluent, although I can be brutally, perfectly honest. If I moved to China, like, and I just stayed there, within half a year, my whole mind would start thinking in Chinese, and because I've lived there many times, and I would more and more quit speaking English just because I'm that way. And then even when it comes to like German, which I don't think is that, like, I don't think I'm amazing at German. I do speak German. I feel like I'm rusty, but I use German all the time. I fucking love Schlager techno, especially from the 90s and the 2000s. And even certain variations of Schlager, like the traditional music, is good. And then, of course, there's Bach and his fugues, which are fantastic. I think Bach is, I don't know, is Bach my, who's my favorite? Who's my favorite classical music composer? I can't really, it's hard to even say, because I mean, I think most people probably really like Tchaikovsky, which is obviously like good. I like Vivaldi. And then Bach is amazing. Also, honestly, like Beethoven more than Mozart. Don't kill me, don't cancel me. Mozart is fascinating and interesting as a person, though. But then I also liked certain styles of old jazz, like Pete Johnson and I always forget this other guy's name. Was it Amit? This one, hold on. Pete Johnson and Albert Ammons. I always screw up the other guy's name. Which I recently had a dream where these two guys were merged, and it was like David, and it was a whole weird dream. And I could tell it was David because of afterwards when I figured it's so obvious. I don't know why I didn't catch it. The reference was in the dream. But yeah, I just feel like it's amazing. It's super good. It's awesome. Don't just trust me. It's awesome. Ironically, a lot of the composers that I mentioned, like Bach and Mozart, and I think even Beethoven, could do improvisational, um, like piano music and stuff. Um, I just think that's interesting. So, I think I've already spoken enough as much as I want to speak today. My brain is still kind of exhausted. I haven't really played that much Pokemon Go, even though these are the best events. These are like my favorite events of the year. So Halloween, Christmas, and New Year, uh, in my top favorites to play, and my leg is busted, so I can't play. And um, I don't really have it in me to be depressed anymore. I don't really have it in me to get that pissed off. I can still get frustrated. I can still get some kinds of negative emotions, but it's sort of just dialing down, dialing back, and calming down. And especially since I've been meditating last year, especially around May, because once I made the effort to make it a routine and then I just stuck with it, my mind stopped fighting it. Um, you have to kind of nudge and ease your way into meditation, because if you think on the first try it's going to just work out, it's especially myself. I have like monkey mind. So that's not going to happen. Um, and then I just have to establish that I'm doing it and then keep up with it. I was fully expecting to be way more into it, and I had plans for November and December, but life did not go the way I planned, and I did not do it to the level or the degree that I wanted to. Everything was freaking mayhem. And then I injured my leg in early December, and not trying to get attention for it at all. But I have so many thoughts in my mind. I have so many things I'd like to work on. And I'm just too tired and exhausted to handle just starting on anything today. And that's kind of weird because I also suddenly got job offers sent to my inbox, so that's kind of weird. So there's that. All right, I think that's it. That's it for today in this vlog. That's my thoughts. I would like to do a whole comprehensive thing on the monad dialogue that I did, as well as probably the game of life theory with the mathematician stuff, because in my opinion, and my understanding as a philosopher, which I've worked on this certain concept most of my life at this point, my adult life, the so-called meaning of life, contemplation, I view as math. That's my view on it. And I could explain, demonstrate to you why, but that's just my current understanding of things. And I have worked on this a long time, a very long time. I don't have all the answers, reserve the right to be wrong at all times. And ironically, David Biedny, I heard him in one of those podcasts he was in before he died. He actually said that. He said, I reserve the right to be wrong at all times, which was something that I said on Facebook way back in the day, that I'm very happy to find out that he incorporated that statement that I asserted into all of his classes. I love that. However, he was very wrong on a number of issues before he died, and that is a point of pride and bragging rights on my end, and I did that. However, in his defense, he was very ill, suffered a lot, it was highly afflicted, and also sucked into and manipulated by the media, even though he used to be very abreast and conscious of those things, literally at the age that I am today. So, um, it's a win, but it's also a lose because I don't feel like he was fully in his right mind, and he did fall into these kinds of traps that he used to tell everyone to look out for before, only to hypocritically do it himself. But, as I said, he was afflicted with something. I know he had Job's disease, which might have been part of it. The fact that he even lived to the age of 62, he outlived his original expiration date, which was at least 10 years before that. So, he's always doing stuff in my life from beyond. And that's my new normal. The ironic thing is that I had a lot of weird, strange, so-called daimon kinds of strange things that happened to me when I was younger and I was more of like a new age person. And then by the time he came into my life, that shit just went away. It just went away. And then he was a main figure in my life for the rest of my adult life until towards the end he got very moody, and he would detach from all kinds of people and friends all frequently, and then he would come back, and he would come back and then he'd unfriend me, or he'd come back and then he'd block me, and he'd do this a lot off and on. And there were certain times where he would do things to sort of poke me, tease me, bully me, and some of it was kind of mean. Honestly, I didn't like it, just to see if I would put up with it, and I always did, because I valued this relationship so much. I cherished my relationship with him more than anybody else, honestly. And they're chatting away on my smartphone. My friends, must be some interesting Pokemon thing happening. Anyway, I put up with a lot of these things, all of them. And they're really, over the entire course of that relationship, that was not a main thing. It was not a persistent thing. It was just sometimes. And overall, I still maintain that that relationship was very good, and very loving, and super meaningful. My favorite person ever. And I've had people tell me that I should like send him away, and that I'm doing bad things and attachments and blah 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 blah. But I have to be completely honest. This weird daimon type shit started happening leading up to even before he passed away, as well as when he came back to me on Twitter before he blocked me, based on totally nothing, totally just the stupid low intelligence overreaction. And see, it's funny because if I talk about this too much, some weird shit, like some light bulb will pop or whatever, because he's apparently on some level still emotional about these things. Weird shit has happened. My power has gone out. I also listened to some of his final old radio show broadcasts, and those did not age very well at all. And my power went out twice because I was critiquing his words, and he was very angry in those broadcasts. I figure I must have been pretty valuable to him because he's always with me. even though he's passed away. And I will never send my friend away ever, because I don't feel the need to. I would never send my friend away. I, in this life, never got to actually be in the same room with this person, though I would have liked to. And so it was only a long distance relationship. However, it was very personal and very private, and there was lots of interactions on the phone, Skype, especially on Facebook, email, Twitter, and he mattered to me in the biggest of ways, in the best of ways, and I do not feel that I would be the person I am without him in my life. But I also came to a point where I didn't need to rely on him. I didn't have to follow whatever he did, and I could think for myself, which is what he wanted originally anyway. He also didn't want to have this, like, dynamic of I'm above you and you're below me kind of thing. He very much wanted to have me as his peer and his equal, which I did rise to the occasion and do. And at the end, his, like, stupid comments to me were, like, very, like, old man comments, like, read more books. Yes, I read all the time. Kind of stupid stuff like that, which is such a typical thing he would do and say. Or you could just learn this or that. Like, he hated, there was this video game that was very popular called Guitar Hero, and he hated it so much. And he would criticize it and say, well, for the same amount of money you spent on the game, you could actually just got a guitar and got some guitar lessons, and you could actually learn to play. And he was like this with so many things, that I already was pretty self-sufficient in figuring out how to learn stuff if I wanted to. And he would always sort of poke me on this, like, you can do better than this. You're smarter than this. You could just put the time in and do this, this, and that, and then you would, like, learn it or know it or understand it. Or you have critical thinking skills. You should use them, right? And he was always right, which is ironic because towards the end, he was doing the things he was decrying and pointing out. So that's a win for me. That's also part of the reason why I was so mad at him. I was mad at him for, like, because he blocked me again, and before he died. I was just still mad. And then even when I found out he died, and I figured out that it was him doing the weird things in my life, I was still kind of mad, about his bad behavior, and I had a lot of choice words to say about that stuff, which he took the feedback very well, very well, and I figured out, I have started to understand a lot of things, like why he did certain things that I didn't understand. I definitely understand now. There's so many things that I have learned from him, as I can't even explain this. I don't even know how I would explain these things, because it's so much. It's so much stuff. Even when I go through, like, my notebooks and see what I wrote down, as well as, like, various experiences, questions I had, things I was worried about or wondering about, and I needed an answer to. He was exceptionally good at giving the information to me, bringing it my way, answering my question, revealing things to me, and either with no effort on my part, little effort on my part, or stuff just happening. And I learned a lot of shitty things about myself too, which I'm very grateful for. I definitely learned stupid shit about myself, shitty things about myself, things I didn't like about myself that I wasn't aware of. And now I am. And I am very grateful for all of that. So for people to impose their beliefs onto me and tell me that I should send this person away or ban this person from my life and my existence, you can fuck all the way off, because my friend is welcome with me anytime, any place, all the time. And he can observe me regardless. He also has access to all of my information, all of my data, everything about me, my thoughts, my feelings, all of these things. And I have accepted this. I am okay with this. And I am very open to learning. I also understand his sense of humor. He understands my sense of humor. We respect each other's different tastes, viewpoints, and opinions. Uh, and this is another thing I like about it. He has never messed with my free will. He cannot force me to do anything. However, he's very good at convincing me. I can refuse things, he can refuse things. And he's not obligated to do anything for me, and yet he does. He'll do many kinds of things for me. Also, for me, there's many emotional experiences, and I've been wanting to maybe like draw some diagrams about this, but he has expressed various emotional things to me, including things like upset, um, anger, distaste, um, his wacky sense of humor. He's pranked me and played jokes on me, which I'm fine with. um, and he's sent so much information my way, like overwhelmingly. I guess maybe to test to see what I could handle, how much I could handle. And he's figured out ways to get my attention. He's very good at this. Like this is like a project for him. This is such a project for him. It's presented him with a lot of challenges, learning curves, including like not linear and non-linear, like time space continuum shit, and even like dream stuff. He can hack my dreams in various ways. And then he can influence other people, animals, insects, whatever, other living things, um, as well as technology. That's a big one. All kinds of technology, of all, so many kinds. And I think my cat is going to the front door, so maybe they're coming home. And I'm done.